A ceasefire might have been agreed in conflict-ridden South Sudan, but reports of hostilities between government and rebel forces continue. The country has been plunged into an ethnic civil war, with vicious fighting between those loyal to President Salva Kiir, an ethnic Dinka, and the Neur rebels led by former Vice-President Riek Machar. The UN says 1 month of fighting has set the country back a decade. As well as the thousands of lives that have already been lost in the conflict, the fighting has also jeopardised the future revenues of the country's oil industry, and with it the chance for the world's youngest nation to pull its population of over 8 million people out of poverty. Luke Patey is author of the book The Kings of Crude, China, India, and Global Struggle for Oil in Sudan and South Sudan, that looks at how the rising economies have established international oil empires in the Sudans. He tells IBTimes the importance of oil to South Sudan.
In July 2011, South Sudan became an independent country. It broke off from Sudan, and it took around 3/4 of Sudan's oil resources with it. For South Sudan, oil is the lifeblood of the economy. It makes up 98% of government revenues. It's really the key if South Sudan wants to develop other sectors of its economy, particularly agriculture. From the beginning of the conflict, oil fields really became battlefields. And around up to 40% of South Sudan's oil production has been shut down. All the oil fields in Unity State, which is one of the main oil-producing states, have been shut, and some other oil wells have been shut down in Upper Nile State. The opposition rebel groups, they want to use capturing oil fields as sort of a leverage on the government, because it closes off or it threatens its main source of income. And by capturing these oil fields, they put pressure on the government.
China is the largest investor in South Sudan's oil industry today, taking in 80% of the country's oil exports. The largest company in the area, the state-owned China National Petroleum Corporation, has evacuated employees from the country because of the violence, and Patey says they will now be more reluctant to invest in South Sudan in the long term.
South Sudan's oil fields are quite old, and they need a lot of new investment to stabilize production in the long term. So what the conflict has done is that it's upset the longevity of the oil industry, because companies will be less enthusiastic about investing with the long term in mind. The damage has already been done through the conflict, and it will take some years to get investor confidence back up.
Since its birth, South Sudan's chances of social development has been hampered by bitter infighting and corruption. Just 10% of oil revenues going to infrastructure and 7% to education. The oil will not last forever, and after the latest fighting, there will be even less funds towards building a sustainable future. For a country not even 3 years old, the window of opportunity is quickly closing shut.
The thing is that most South Sudanese have seen little benefit from oil to date. Even South Sudan's President Salva Kiir has admitted that 1/3 of the oil revenues have been lost to corruption. One can say another 1/3 of the oil revenues go towards defense and security. So the everyday South Sudanese man and woman hasn't seen a lot of benefit. The conflict and the negative impact it's had on the oil industry doesn't hurt the everyday man or woman on the street. It hurts the hope that one day oil revenues could be used, the promise that one day the petrodollars could be used to build the economy further and to lift the country out of poverty, which large parts of the country are in.